Good evening and welcome, everyone. I'm Bill Maley, your Brighton Town Supervisor, and I'm pleased to welcome you to tonight's October 12th, 2022 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. We will begin the open forum portion of our meeting in just a few moments. That's the opportunity for members of the public to share their comments with the Town Board. If you're watching us on YouTube or on our cable access channel tonight, you'll have to log into Zoom and participate in the meeting through Zoom if you are remote and would like to access the open forum, or for that matter, the public hearings that we will have later on the agenda. There are detailed instructions for doing that on the Town of Brighton webpage, which is townofbrighton.org. We continue to make our meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community with our ASL interpreters, and tonight Allie and Heather are our interpreters. Thank you both. Just as a reminder, the agenda for tonight's meeting, as well as all the materials we're using in making our decisions, are available on the table in the back of the room if you're here in person, or on the Town of Brighton web page. I will start the meeting with the pledge. I will ask Councilmember Warner to lead us in the pledge. Please rise if you're able.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. On Monday, we celebrated Indigenous Peoples Day here in Brighton, and I will be reading a proclamation issued by the Town of Brighton recognizing and honoring Indigenous Peoples Day shortly. But before I do that, it's important that we publicly acknowledge that the Town of Brighton is situated on the ancestral and traditional lands of the Onondaga tribe of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, whom we recognize and respect as the traditional custodians of this land throughout the generations. We pay our respect to Onondaga elders, both past and present. The history, the culture, and the traditions of the Onondaga are worthy of our understanding and our study, and we praise those that keep those traditions alive. We recognize that that study is of ongoing importance if we are to truly understand the history of our community and our nation, and we support efforts to ensure that we and future generations continue that study and that respect in a way that is honest and truthful, so that in the words of the great orator Sacagawea, who was also known as Red Jacket, we may always work together to brighten the chain of friendship. Now, I'll go up to the podium. And here is the proclamation issued by the Town of Brighton and signed by the members of the Town Board honoring Indigenous Peoples Day. Whereas, for centuries, Indigenous peoples were forcibly removed from ancestral lands, murdered, displaced, assimilated, and banned from worshiping and performing many sacred ceremonies. Whereas the Town of Brighton recognizes that long before the formation of Brighton, the Indigenous peoples of the Haudenosaunee Confederation were residents and stewards of the land on which we live. Whereas the Seneca or Onondaga Nation were known as the keepers of the Western Gate among the members of the Haudenosaunee, guarding the western areas of the Confederation from outsiders. Whereas the community we now know as Brighton was traversed by the Onondaga, and one of Brighton's best-known landmarks, the Council Rock, was the site of Onondaga councils and stood along the trail leading from Canandaigua Lake to what we now know as Rochester. Whereas we recognize the importance of the Onondaga to our history, and in keeping with our commitment to diversity, we honor the role they played and the contributions they made in this region, along with the other members of the Haudenosaunee Confederation. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, Brighton Town Supervisor William Maley, and the members of our Town Council do hereby celebrate Indigenous Peoples Day in the town of Brighton and encourage all residents of the town to respect and honor the history of our first residents and to learn more about their heritage and culture. And this proclamation is signed as of the 10th day of October 2022, Indigenous Peoples Day 2022. Our second proclamation tonight recognizes October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month 2022, and I will ask Megan DeChateview to please join me. Whereas home is generally considered as a place of love, warmth, and comfort, but for far too many people, it is prison instead of sanctuary, demoralizing instead of supportive, and dangerous instead of safe. Whereas domestic violence destroys the homes, childhoods, and freedom of an estimated 13 million people each year, and nearly 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience severe physical violence by an intimate partner during their lifetime. Whereas Willow Domestic Violence Center runs the only licensed domestic violence shelter in Monroe County, serving about 300 adults and 250 children each year, supporting them as they escape dangerous situations and work on creating new lives. And whereas Willow provides counseling for individuals and groups, prevention, education, and training, a pet shelter, and supportive housing, while fiercely advocating for an end to domestic violence. Whereas together we must resolve to have zero tolerance for acts of domestic violence, and we reaffirm our commitment to empowering survivors and ending this deeply destructive abuse that reverberates across generations. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and the members of our Town Council do hereby declare October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month in the town of Brighton, extend our sincere gratitude to all who are providing support, shelter, and hope to survivors of domestic violence, and strongly encourage those who are currently being subjected to domestic violence to seek assistance by calling the Willow Domestic Violence Center's 24-hour hotline at 585-222-SAFE. That's 585-222-SAFE, or visiting their website at willowcenterny.org. And this proclamation is signed this 12th day of October, 2022, and I am very pleased to present this to my good friend, Megan DeChateview, Chair, President, and CEO of the Willow Domestic Violence Center.
Thank you. Thank you. Pose for a photo.
Yeah.
See me over it.
Sorry. All right,
Thank you.
Megan,
Thank you so
podium's
much.
yours.
Yeah, I'll just, short and sweet, I want to say thank you all. Thank you so much to Bill and to the council members for the support of Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This month we wear purple every day. We host events, including our walk this Saturday, for the community to come together in a way to raise awareness of this issue that affects so many people in our community. So on behalf of the 15 families we have in our shelter right now, including 27 kiddos under 5. It's a busy night. And then the 2,000 people we see every year through our court advocacy program, helping people to find orders of protection at the Hall of Justice, and the numbers of people that we see through our counseling services, and then the children that we see in our prevention education program. So we are in the schools, including Brighton, to talk with young people about healthy relationships, and really working with our partners in law enforcement in the school district and throughout the community to help families stay safe and to work toward our vision of a community where healthy relationships thrive. So thank you all so much for the support.
Thank you so much, Megan, for the incredible work that you and your team at Willow do to prevent domestic violence in the greater Rochester area, housing and assisting survivors of domestic violence. As you mentioned, Willow collaborates with a number of agencies, law enforcement and others, including the Brighton Police Department, to ensure that incidents of domestic violence are taken seriously and that survivors receive the support that they need. You mentioned the Walk for Willow this coming Saturday, and I'm pleased that Brighton Police Deputy Chief Mike Desane, former Brighton Fire Department Chief Steve McAdam, Monroe County Health Director Dr. Mike Mendoza, and I will be walking together as Team Brighton's Best. I certainly invite anybody to support the walk. Whether you support our group or otherwise, you can go to the Willow Center webpage, willowcenterny.org. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the work you do. Now we will begin the open forum, which we hold at the beginning of each town board meeting. I would note that if you are here to speak about any of the 5 public hearings that we have tonight, and those are the removals or the proposed removals of trees on Holloway Road, the 2023 preliminary budget hearing, the 2023, and this is a related hearing on the assessment rolls in the town relating to the budget, the public hearing on the proposed local law that would allow the town board to adopt a budget that may exceed the tax cap, and finally, the public hearing concerning the possible demolition or repair of 59 Hampshire Drive. If you're here to speak at any one of those hearings, I would encourage you to wait until those hearings are called. We will do the public hearings immediately following the open forum. But by waiting until the public hearings are called, your comments will be included as part of the record of the public hearing. Again, as I mentioned earlier, if you are here at the meeting remotely and watching us either on our live stream on YouTube or on our community access cable channel, you will have to log in through Zoom in order to participate in the open forum, or for that matter, in the public hearing. We'll start with folks here in the room. If you would like to speak in the open forum, please raise your hand. I will recognize you if you would come to the forum. the podium rather. Please state your name and address. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes, and I'll give everyone a 30-second warning before your time does expire. Our goal tonight and during the open forum held at every town board meeting is to give you the opportunity to share your thoughts with the board and for us to be able to listen to your words. Therefore, please direct your response or your comments to the town board and not to the rest of the room or to any other speaker. Please refrain from personal attacks and from outbursts of any kind during the open forum, out of respect for the speakers that are also participating. So we'll now start the open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to address the town board during the open forum portion of the meeting? If so, please raise your hands. Yes, come on up and please use the podium so everyone can hear you. Oh, then I would ask you to wait until we call that public hearing. Yeah, thanks. We have the stenographer here who will include that on the record of tonight's meeting. Then if there's no one here in the room that would like to speak during the open forum, I'll ask if there is anyone. I don't see anyone at this point with their hand raised to speak from our Zoom meeting. If there is anyone that would like to speak, please raise your hand so you can be unmuted.
Bill, if we have no one on the open forum, I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you, Chris and Christine. Any discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Again, we do have 5 public hearings tonight. We will hold them in the order that they appear on the agenda. So the first one is a public hearing on the proposed removal of one 40-inch silver maple located at 100 Holloway Road. In each case, we reference these addresses. They're in the highway right-of-way adjacent to that address. 2 40-inch silver maples at 94 Holloway Road, and 1 32-inch silver maple at 74 Holloway Road. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given for this public hearing?
Yes, Supervisor. Notice was published in the September 28th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you very much. And presumably Mike, the communication to adjoining property holders was also given.
That is correct. That notification did go out.
Perfect. Then notice has been given. I declare this public hearing to be open. Is there anyone here in the audience? I'll start first with the people here in the room. Is there anyone here tonight that would like to address this first public hearing on the removal of trees on Holloway Road? Yes, come on forward, please. And if you would, just state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Leah Merritt Mervine. I live at 84 Holloway Road, and I am one of the property owners that is directly impacted by the removal of the trees. I just wanted to express to the board how this will change the character of the street. And while it may be very necessary to remove them for the safety of our street, I would just highly encourage the board to consider replacing and replenishing the street, as we have lost many, many trees, and what makes our street so special is just the character and the age of those trees. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, is it the intention to replace trees on Holloway?
Yeah, the intention is we will have replacement trees of 3 of the 4 trees. We'll have, and there's 2 trees we're taking down on 94 Holloway. We'll replace only one of those trees. After talking to our staff, there just doesn't appear to be room to put another tree there. It's out-competed. So, but we will replace 3 of those 4 trees with replacement trees.
Different species from our current street tree?
As recommended by our tree council, we mix and match our species, because what we don't want is what we have here now, all the same species. They all have the same lifespan, they all die at the same time, and then we have what you're concerned about is a barren street with no trees. So there'll be differing species there, so they'll have different lifespans, they'll be there longer and they'll look more variety.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here in the room that would like to address the board on this public hearing concerning trees on Holloway? Then I'll ask if there is anyone on the Zoom that would like to address this public hearing on the removal of trees on Holloway Road. I don't see any hands raised. I will say, you know, apropos to your remarks and to Mike's remarks, we have seen this with silver maples in a number of neighborhoods in town. They are magnificent trees, but we have also seen them come down, sometimes with almost no, you know, wind even. So we have reports that are included, our arborists' reports on each of the trees, including photographs, indications of various insect infiltration and dead or dying portions of those trees. It is important. We are a Tree City, USA, and it is certainly our intention to maintain that streetscape to the best of our ability. So, is there anyone else either in the room or on the Zoom that would like to address the board on this public hearing? Any comments from members of the board that you'd like to have on the record of the public hearing? Hearing none, then I declare this public hearing to be closed, and I'll ask Councilmember Corrado for a motion.
Yes, on the matter of the proposed removal of one 40-inch silver maple at 100 Holloway Road, 2 40-inch silver maples at 94 Holloway Road, and one 32-inch silver maple at 74 Holloway Road, I move that the board adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. The next public hearing is the public hearing on the proposed 2023 preliminary budget. I will say that, as I mentioned earlier on, there are really 2 very much related public hearings tonight. One on the budget itself, and one on the assessment rolls for service charges, maintenance charges, capital improvements, and sewer rent charges for special improvement districts. Those charges become part of the budget and are assessed only against properties that are part of the districts in question. But because they are very much related, in a moment we're going to open up this public hearing and we will have a presentation by the Director of Finance. But I don't want anybody to worry, you know, should I give my remarks here at this hearing or should I give them here at the assessment roll hearing? We will hold 2 separate hearings and we will take comments about the budget or about the assessment rolls at either one of those meetings, at either one of those hearings. So don't feel like you gotta figure out which hearing you should be speaking at. But with that, I am going to turn over to Paula Parker, our Director of Finance. Well, first, before I do that, Paula,
I sorry to interrupt. I don't mean to speak out of turn, but I know since the one resident was looking to speak at this hearing, I don't know if most of the residents were here for Hampshire or for the budget. If people, maybe possible to
That's
swap them out, save their evening.
that's actually a good question, Dan. So let me ask that. How many people are here to address the budget?
Sorry, Paula.
You just disappointed our finance director. Or any of the budget-related hearings. Then I assume that everybody is here either to listen or to speak to the public hearing concerning 59 Hampshire Drive. If you would raise your hands just to... Great job, Dan.
Yeah.
Good call. Then, with the consent of the board, I'm going to take these items out of the order that they appear on the agenda. So we will first hold the public hearing pursuant to Chapter 51 of the Town Code regarding the demolition or repair of 59 Hampshire Drive in the town of Brighton. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given on that matter?
Yes, Supervisor, this was published in the October 4th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you. Then I declare this public hearing open, and I'm going to start, I believe, with you, Mike.
So I think as many of the folks in the audience realize that,
You got to speak closer into your mic.
okay, sorry, folks. I think as many of the folks in the audience understand, that house has been in bad shape for quite a while. Due to neglect, people not maintaining the house, it was in bad shape. We did have our building inspector go out, take a look at it. He reported on all the deficiencies in the house, all the deterioration. We put a report together, took it to the town board last week, asked for this public hearing to be set so we can consider the demolition of the house. The letter indicated there's many spots of poor maintenance, but one of the most concerns is there's a hole in the roof where you can see where the rodents have infested it and pulled out the insulation. We do not know if there's been structural damage. That's yet to be seen, but certainly needs to be repaired. I did hear from the owner today. He did indicate that he would like to repair the house.
Was this the owner, or was this a representative?
It was the owner's, no, it was her husband, Phil. And he indicated that he'd like to make the house right, because he would like to end up selling the house. He indicated that he would have a contractor out here next week to look at the house, assess the house, and then start work shortly thereafter. So that's one of the reasons why we asked the board to amend that resolution to include repair or demolition.
Supervisor, if I could just add to Commissioner Guyon's comments. Our concern here is that we don't want to backslide on the efforts that the Department of Public Works has put into going forward to get this house either in shape or down. Of course, the town would prefer to have a home that is nicely repaired on that lot rather than have a vacant lot. But we Commissioner Guyon and I have proposed to the board to keep the timeline the same. The way that our code reads is that the owner would have 10 days from today to commence demolition or repair of the property, and would have 30 days from today to complete demolition or repair of the property. And we intend to make sure that those timelines are enforced, with the caveat to be completely transparent to not only the board but to the public, that if the homeowner does commence repair within 10 days and makes good progress and has proper plans filed with the town, if it looks like things are moving in the right direction and the house is being put in proper repair, we may allow more than 30 days for the repair. But we're going to have to wait and see. And we're also going to want to have access into the property so that we can inspect what's going on inside there, because the town has not been inside the property. We've only observed it from the outside. So that's the proposal that you have in front of us, in front of you today. It's important, I think, to make sure that we keep this on a tight leash. This has been a very, very non-responsive owner for a long period of time, and enough is enough.
And Ken, just to thank you for that clarification. Whose decision would it be to extend that 30-day period?
I'll put that entirely on the Commissioner of Public Works.
Okay. That was my question. Is it administrative, or does the town board have to take further action?
No, we would monitor the progress closely, and have Ed out there, the building inspector out there, making sure work is progressing in a positive manner.
I should say, conversely, if proper progress is not made, or no progress is made, or repairs are not commenced, then we will pursue demolition. What that process looks like is, after that 30-day window ends, we would then need to put together a request for proposals and ask for a proposal from contractors to go onto that property to demolish the house. As the board knows, going through an RFP, a request for a proposal process, and then awarding that proposal, and given what the delays are in getting contractors on site these days, that might be an extended, and when I say extended, I mean several month process. So the better alternative here is to keep it on a short leash, get this owner, now that he is finally speaking with us, to commence repairs within 10 days and get as much done as he can in the next 30 days, and let's see how he does.
And just to clarify, because you indicated that we would not, or that we would not go out seeking bids for the demolition until after 30 days had expired. Do we have to wait 30 days if no work commences after 10 days?
Yeah, if we hear nothing in the next 10 days, then we can go out with that RFP after 10 days.
Good.
That's correct.
Good. Thank you. With all that having said, either one of you have anything more to add before we open up to the public? Okay, great. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to speak? I will call on you there in the back row. Thank you. Come on up, and again, if you would, please state your name and your address.
My name is Beverly Ziegler, and I live at 119 Hampshire. And I want to know how we, the neighbors who have dealt with this for so long, how are we going to get information from you? Because when you could still see in the windows, there is obvious black mold everywhere in that house. And what are the ramifications if that is not removed in a responsible way for the air quality on our block? Because that is a problem. And there are already varmints and critters. Are they just going to demolish it and have them run around our neighborhood, or is an exterminator going to come in? These are questions that I, as a nurse, this is really a public health issue.
Thank you. We may not be able to answer those, but I appreciate the questions. Mike?
Yeah.
I can address some of the issues. I mean, before we demolish it, we go in and certainly inspect it. We're going to have to remediate at the very least for asbestos and
Yes.
check out what's really in that building before it is demolished. As far as the repairs, we don't know what the repairs are at this point. We'll certainly be working with that, with the owner to figure out what he's actually going to be doing there. He's going to have to take out a building permit. So as part of that building permit,
Will
there'll be
go to this
conditions.
board.
Excuse me?
Will go to,
It'll go to the Department of Public Works. who
Okay.
will
Right.
Review it administratively. It won't be coming back to the town board for reviewing the plans. But I was going to say something similar to Commissioner Guyon, which is we don't have the plans yet. Certainly your concerns are valid, and certainly those concerns will be taken into consideration as the Building and Planning Department reviews whatever plans are filed. We're looking for those plans within the next 10 days, so we can
Okay.
get this going.
and how will we get information?
You know, I can email, if I have a contact, I can certainly email you folks.
We have an email thread for our block.
If you can email me tomorrow,
I
just so
will
I'll have
have
that
Mary
email
Traver,
thread.
who is in charge of that email. If I could have that information before I leave, that would be helpful.
Sure, it's, my email is on the website. It's just mike.guyon@townofbrighton.org.
Okay,
So,
And Guyon is Guyon.
thank you. Okay. I'm sure there are other issues that need to be addressed. This was found just because someone finally stopped to look at a little white, we've had so many notices on that front door. It was not really obvious to the neighbors what was going on until someone stopped and read it. And it would have been helpful if that was a brighter color, if that is some kind of standardized thing, if it could have been out further. I mean, people try to avoid that house because of unstable trees, the building, you know, the roof falling in is going to release a lot of stuff into the air. We try to steer clear.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Justin Spencer, 111 Hampshire Drive. There's many concerns and issues in regards to this home. The one that I have is kind of a follow-up from Bev. Recently, I just acquired a building permit. I have to move my air conditioner 12 inches over what I call the imaginary line. So that initiated, or the side setback, I'm sorry, the side setback, so I had to go to the zoning board and everything. For that process, I needed to obviously do all the paperwork and everything. Letters were sent out to neighbors next to on Torrington, notifying them that I want to move my air conditioner. I had to put this large, obnoxious, bright red sign in front of my house notifying anyone that drove by, this guy's doing something. Like Bev said, this house, which I didn't know how many copies to make, but I'd like to pass this around for you guys to see. I took this today, has a tiny white piece of paper on a little white door. The reason we're all here right now is because randomly someone walked by and spotted this. No one had any clue that this was going to happen. And theoretically, you guys would have torn this thing down in 10 days, and no one had an idea or anything at all of this. Yeah, like I said, this picture's taken 3 feet in the yard. It's even harder to see on the sidewalk, almost impossible driving by. So I'd like to pass this around so you guys can see what we had to visually see and notifying. We had no idea any of this was going to happen. That's kind of frustrating. I don't know how legally this is a proper notification to anyone on the street or neighborhood. In my opinion, I think that this is a street-wide issue that the whole street needs to be notified because there's many aspects to this that it just doesn't directly impact next door and behind. You know, I think this should be expanded on when you have a large magnitude of a project like this, that people need to be notified better of this. I made a list because I'm horrible at speaking. That's all the concerns for right now. That's my main concern. There's many others, but since we've changed the scope of the project, my biggest thing is the signage and notifications. There was nothing in regards to Hampshire Drive residents of what was going to occur or when this was going to occur.
Thank you. And I became aware of the concern in the neighborhood about the visibility of the notice earlier today. And I understand the concern. The notice is given in accordance with the provisions of our town code. But I think it's a valid concern, and it's one that we can look at. We regularly review our code and consider potential sort of what I'll call technical amendments to the code. And I think this is a fair one for us to consider whether there are additional ways that we can give notice. And these are it is very unusual that we get to this point where we are considering the demolition of a home. In the nearly 11 years that I've been supervisor, I think the only other times we've done it have been related to fires or similar, damaging events. But I take that concern seriously, and it's something we can take a look at going forward.
And Bill, if I could just add a little bit to that. So the reason why the posting is even there at all is because our town code allows the town to do that. We would need to amend the town code to give the town permission to go on somebody else's private property to put up a bigger sign. It's not a bad idea that we do that. I want to also point out that the law that we're talking about is under our unsafe buildings and structures law, which is designed to protect health and safety in the community and gives the town the very unusual power to go onto private property and demolish somebody's home. So to do that, we need to give due process to the owner of that property before we take their home away from them. And so the purpose of the posting on the home and the letter that we sent to the owner is primarily designed to notify the homeowner that his or her property is about to be demolished. But you're not wrong that it is also an interest of the entire neighborhood to know what's going on. And to that end, we can certainly take a look at amending the code to provide for bigger signage.
I mean, for example, the previous public hearing relating to the removal of silver maple trees, under our law, we give notice to adjoining property owners.
Correct. We don't post a big sign.
We don't. But we do affirmatively reach out to nearby property owners to make them aware of what might happen as well.
To contrast the variance process that the gentleman talked about, the goal there is to notify the neighbors. It's your application, of course, as the owner of the property, you know what's going on. What we want to make sure is that your neighbors know what you're about to do on your property in terms of a variance. So it's a slightly different goal, but again, I think they're good points.
Yes, you wanted to speak, yes, absolutely. We should have let you go first. If you would again, please state your name and address.
Yes, my name is Joyce Clark. I live on Hampshire Drive. I've lived there for longer than I want to reveal. But I have had some of my questions answered tonight, a couple more that I still have. First, I'd like to ask one thing of you. You said something about a hole through the roof, a tree through the roof or something in the last how long?
I can't tell you how long that hole's been in the roof. It's been there long enough. I mean, it's been there a while. I can't tell you exactly how long, but there is definitely a breach in the roof, and we have found insulation thrown onto the driveway, assuming that's either squirrels, raccoons, or some other types of rodents up there.
The tree has been through the roof for several years.
I know it's been a while.
Several years. Nobody lives in that house, so they're not living there. Do you know the whole story about the house?
I think the Department of Public Works is aware of the history of the person who did live there and passed away and left it into the estate, and where the executor is actually out of town for that estate, and it's really the executor's responsibility to be maintaining that home, which she has not done.
She has not done anything. So why would we think that she's going to do something now to fix it up? Why would we even think that they would have any interest in doing that? That's just a question of mine.
I share your skepticism, which is why we're keeping this on a 10-day leash. We'll see.
Right.
Commissioner Guyon got a phone call from the brother of the executor brother or husband? Husband of the executor, I'm sorry, making representations. We try to take people at their word, but we keep a close eye on it. So if in the next 10 days nothing happens, then we'll know that their word was no good, and we'll take proper action.
Okay. If we do go forward with the demolition, what will you do to keep anything from going around the neighborhood? I think Beverly asked the same question. What are they going to do to keep all of the bad fallout from coming around in the neighborhood and affecting people's health? That's my first question.
I guess like I said earlier, we'll go in, we'll survey it for asbestos. They'll remove all the asbestos from the house. We'll obviously take all the garbage out of the house. The debris will be taken off site. I don't know, there was the accusation or the accusation there might be mold there. We'd have to look into that and see how that works. We would probably contact a hygienist to make sure what the appropriate measures are to take care of that stuff.
And just to clarify, by we, we're talking about there would be a contractor that would come in and do the demolition, a contractor that would be chosen pursuant to the required competitive bidding that we are required to do. But certainly there would be lines of communication, and in drawing up the specifications for the bid, that's an important part of those specifications is so that whatever contractor bids on the work or contractors bid on the work, they know what they're bidding on. They know, for example, that there may be asbestos remediation. They know that some of these other elements may need to be addressed as part of the process.
That's absolutely correct. The bid documents, we'll probably end up bidding asbestos removal as a separate contract. The bidding process is going to take time, like council said. It will take some work because we'll have to pull the documents together. But again, we don't know what's inside that place right now.
Okay.
So,
My last question. Who's paying for the demolition?
So I'll address that. Initially, the town of Brighton pays for the demolition or repair, whatever it is that is not done. We're hoping that the homeowner pays for it, right? If they go forward and they actually do what they say they're going to do to repair the property, that will be an expense that the homeowner or the executor or the estate will have to pay for. But if they don't, and that's your question, what if they don't do what they promise and the town has to go hire this contractor to do the demolition? The town pays that, but then it is taxed onto the real property taxes for that parcel. And then that parcel has to pay those taxes. So if those taxes are not paid by the owner, it'll go into tax foreclosure. The county will reimburse the town, and then the county will do a tax foreclosure and recover those monies when it does its tax foreclosure. So ultimately, that is how it works.
By tax foreclosure, you mean just what they owe?
So what I'm saying is the cost of demolition, if the town has to pay for it, gets added to the tax bill.
Okay. Okay. I'll take that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board concerning this public hearing? Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
We're getting an echo. Steve Del Monte, if you can address that echo. Why don't we, why don't you wait just a, I think the echo has stopped. Okay, you can continue, sorry.
My name is David Clark. That was my wife talking. I thought she was gonna come tonight and talk for both of us, but there's some things maybe that you don't know, but this house, as she said, has been left to the elements for 20-some years, 30 years, and I just wanted to say that, sorry, I have a little dementia and it comes and goes. But the story of what happened was that the father died, then the mother died, okay? And the sister was the main,
The executor.
the executor, right. But the executor was left with a special hold. Maybe one of the lawyers can help me with what would be put on the house. She was left with the requirement that until the son, her brother, died, she had to provide him with a living residence, okay? And that's what we've existed with for the last 20-some years. That yes, she owns the property, not the husband. It was left by the parents. It was left to her to take care of, and she had to provide this livable area for him. Well, he hasn't been seen. No one, I don't think anybody on the street even knows who he is other than me and my wife. You know, I used to play volleyball with him, and he was a great volleyball player. But that guy was, you know, no other part of his life was good, you know, and he just stopped coming to the residence, and, you know, the property was already in disrepair, and now it's really, really bad. But the son is the reason, perhaps, I don't know if you knew that or not, it hasn't been stated to my knowledge, but that's the reason she had to keep the house. She couldn't sell it until something happened to him.
If I can ask you to wrap up in about 30 seconds.
Oh, I'm
okay.
probably over. Then I'll end with that.
Okay, thank you.
That is a thing that you may run into when you try to straighten it out, because I think the state is involved somehow. Okay.
Thank you.
Sir, I just didn't get your last name for the record. Could you just repeat that for me?
David Clark, C-L-A-R-K.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
77
Clark.
Hampshire.
Yes.
I'll make it very snappy. My name is Mary Trabert, and I live at 120 Hampshire Drive. And I just wanted to follow up on the idea that the owner was going to, or the owner's husband, was going to submit or have a contractor submit a bid within 10 days. And what I'm concerned about is with the black mold possibility and that stuff, does the town have anything to say about what the contractor promises?
Sure. I mean, we were going to look and see what, he has to propose something first for us to know, but we'll be issuing a permit for that. And
Okay.
so the permit will list out what the project is, what he's doing.
And the town will know what the issues are at that point? They will have looked to?
We'll be inspecting the work.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, without knowing, it's hard to answer your questions,
Yeah.
that's all. So, but just certainly we'll have our inspector out there taking a look at the work, making sure it's according to town code and that the house is a livable house.
It's pretty scary.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Lucas Barber, 26 Hampshire. I just wanted, for a point of clarification, you said if they're making good progress at 30 days, potentially it could be extended to give them time. We know lots of things can happen or challenges that they run into. But could you maybe more clearly define what does good progress mean to you?
It's very ambiguous, obviously, but good progress means that they have a set of plans, they're proceeding in their plans, and they're picking off target dates on their plans, or they are progressing toward the end of the plans. I don't know how else to say that, because I don't know what he's proposing at this point.
Sure.
And I really don't know, when you look at that house and you look at the amount of work that might have to occur, to anticipate that it would be done in 30 days may be a bit unrealistic. So we just will look at it, make sure that he's moving in a forward direction. We're all, our department's very versed in construction, understanding, what progress actually means. Right. If nothing's happening, and it's hard, I'll tell you, it's hard nowadays with construction, because construction workers are having trouble, and the contractors that you hire are having trouble finding people. But we will be on top of that and making sure it's happening. So there's going to have to be some wiggle room in there, but
Sure.
We'll keep a tight leash.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here who hasn't spoken yet that would like to speak on this public hearing? Then I'll ask, seeing no hands, I will ask, I don't see any hands raised on the Zoom.
I would like to speak, sir. I'm on the phone.
Excuse me.
Is that okay?
Excuse me.
This is Clara Sanguinetti.
Hang on a moment, please.
Yes.
People should be muted. I see that you aren't. So yes, you may go ahead and speak. Please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is Clara Sanguinetti. I live on 285
I'm sorry,
Wellington Drive, and my mother lives on Hampshire.
Speak into your mic, Bill.
Our stenographer, I'm sorry, I just need to interrupt you for a moment. Our stenographer couldn't hear your name. If you could do what I just did, actually, maybe, and speak into the microphone and say it and maybe spell it. Your last name,
Yes.
please.
Clara, C-L-A-R-A.
Okay.
That's my first name. My last name is Sanguinetti, S-A-N-G-U-I-N-E-T-T-I.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry to have interrupted you that way. And your address?
Absolutely. It's a long name, and it's late at night, so I understand. I wanted to thank the town, all of you, for taking the time to address this very pressing issue. There's a lot of valid concerns about this property, and one of my I'm concerned about the amendment to the motion to allow the executor extra time to repair this property, because even with my very basic knowledge of architecture and construction, I can guarantee you that this house is beyond any repair, especially any repair that can be done within 30 days. And this house has been abandoned, being neglected, and being fallen apart for over 10 years. There's been plenty of official complaints filed by the neighbors for many years, and the executor / owner / state has neglected to answer and bring up the house to abide by the property code. So I'm highly suspicious that now all of a sudden they want to fix it and make good with not only the neighbors but also the property code. I understand that there's obviously law involved on property rights, and the executor should have a say in what happens. But this house is beyond repair. Like nothing that this, and as many have mentioned, no one's gonna go out and find a construction company to basically fix this house, even within the next 10 days. It will not happen. So I'm just concerned that amending the motion and giving that allowance of extra time will just delay this process even further, and it's been way too long. Like this house is a danger. for everyone that walks by, for the neighbors. And I'm just concerned that putting this amendment, giving this allowance to the state will just keep delaying the inevitable.
Thank you. Just to clarify, there is not an amendment to extend the time. The only amendment that was made is to make it clear that the executor could either demolish or repair the property. As Mr. Guyon indicated, because we have not been in the house ourselves, it's hard for us to assess what its condition is. And as he mentioned, as part of that process, we're going to have access and make sure that the contractor, that the specifications that go out do the complete work. And it's also possible that the owner will have reached the same conclusion, and that the owner, instead of hiring a contractor to repair the house, may themselves hire a contractor to demolish the house. And in that case, again, we would look very closely at the specifications, make sure that it was done in a manner that was consistent with our town's demolition law and all of our review of the process. But as I think I heard both Mr. Gordon and Mr. Guyon say, we will keep a close watch, a close leash on these timelines, and they are going to need to meet the timeline initially, and then to the extent, if they are able to do that, and that's a big if they are able to do that, then to continue to show ongoing progress throughout. And if they can't do that, we might then have to step in. But I understand your concern, and I can assure you that that our staff, our code enforcement, our building inspector will be maintaining very close review of this process, both during these initial 10 days and during any time that may follow.
Could we request that this, we have, this is placed in the next month's town hall meeting agenda to give all the, Brighton residents and Hampshire neighbors an update?
We did, I don't know whether you were on at the time, but we did get a request from one of the earlier speakers that there is an email list among the Hampshire Drive neighbors, and our Commissioner Guyon will be communicating through that email list to keep everybody up to date on where things are. Obviously, residents can always come in and speak during the open forum of any of our board meetings.
Okay, we could get an update next month. If nothing happens through the emails, we'll be able to just jump in and get an update, even if it's not on the agenda, correct?
I'm not sure I heard all that.
I think the question was, if they come into open forum and ask what the status is, will Commissioner Guyon answer their question as to what the status is at next month's meeting, if
Correct.
there is?
Yeah, sorry, that was my question. Thank you.
Thanks, Ken, for having better ears than I do. To the extent he can, absolutely. The next meeting will be 14 days from now. So you will, Mr. Guyon will certainly have communicated to the thread before then, but absolutely, you're welcome to also come in to the open forum.
Thank you.
And if I could just
sure
address the issue of having this matter continued over to the next agenda of the town board meeting, I would recommend against that, because I would ask the town board to take action on this tonight so that we can start that 10-day clock today.
Absolutely, yeah. That, if that wasn't clear, that 10-day clock is an integral part of this code section, which is cited by this resolution, and specifically directs that that work commence within 10 days. So while we may and certainly do welcome any of you to come back at the next meeting, based on what I've seen, based on what I've heard, I anticipate that we will be voting to approve this resolution tonight and start that clock running. Mr. Tetanoff, I see your hand raised. Bridget, if you can unmute Mr. Tetanoff, please.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes. If you would, though, please speak into the microphone because it is a little hard to hear. Because this is a public hearing, it's important for our stenographer to be able to hear it as clearly as possible.
So maybe the supervisor is getting up there in age, but the town has taken down buildings about 6 months before the pandemic. You guys took down, I think it was 2 buildings on Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road. So the town has some history in taking people's property. And to have this, to impose a 10-day timeline, it's impossible for anybody to get a contractor in there. And with the supply shortage, you're effectively circumventing this property owner's due process rights. No doubt about it. This property would probably need a year of rehab to get a new certificate of occupancy. So this seems like a sham public hearing on this property. And to take so many years to start to take action, over 20 years of no action on this property, and basically telling the neighbors, oh, don't worry about it, don't worry about it, we'll take action over 20 years, and empty promises. It's just shameful. And in my opinion, the neighbors should have fixed the roof years ago. And even if it's not their property, or gotten some sort of waiver from the town to hire a contractor to fix the roof so that it doesn't become the mess that it's become. But taking somebody's property without due process is not right. I believe that this property is going to come down, and it'll take you guys, I think it took you guys 6 months to bid out and to take down those properties on Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road a few years ago. So these neighbors will be dealing with this for months and months, even if you decide to take action tonight. But to have taken effectively no corrective action for over 20 years, shame on you guys.
Thank you, Mr. Tentenoff. Just to clarify, I believe you initially referred to 2 properties on Winton Road. Those were not taken down by the town. They were acquired, and Mr. Tentenoff, let me finish, please. They were acquired by a new property owner and a new home built there on Winton Road. So the town, although it reviewed that process, it went through the town's review and approval process. The town did not demolish those properties on Winton Road. Is there anyone else that would like to address?
Those properties were on Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road, not Winton Road. Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road.
I'm not aware of any properties that, I'm looking at the Commissioner of Public Works. The Commissioner of Public Works is not aware of any properties that the town demolished on Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road.
Maybe you can review the meeting agendas for the previous, probably in 2020. That's when you guys took that property.
That is not correct. We did not demolish any properties on Brighton Henrietta Town Line Road in 2020. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board at this time? Hearing none, then I declare this public hearing to be closed. And Chris, I'll ask.
First, for clarification, Council, you'll be revising the
No.
resolution, or it's just going to be informal that they would
No.
be permitted during the 10 days to make a construction proposal?
So the resolution as drafted says that the owner must, within the next 10 days, commence demolition, removal, or repair.
And complete that work within 30 days.
Correct, they'd complete that work within 30 days.
But as we have done,
Are you looking at that resolution
Yes, I am.
and you don't see that it says that?
Councilmember, do you have the updated resolution?
Perhaps I don't, I took this one off the website
At what time?
just now,
Yeah.
just before the start of the meeting, so good.
So there is in the packet an updated resolution, resolution number 13.
I may have a similar question as Councilmember Werner. I'm just looking for the language that says "or else." I see the language that says that they have to commence within 10 days and be completed within 30 days hereof, and all costs incurred by the town for work performed shall be recovered by the town, but it doesn't, do we need to have language in there that says if they don't do it within those timeframes, then the town is authorized to commence that work?
It's in the town code.
Perfect, okay, thank you.
Okay, and I agree. I do not think we should extend the time at all. I think that this is an accommodation to allow the homeowner to actually start it and make a proposal, but not to give him any additional time unless he's made adequate progress in the opinion of the Public Works Commissioner. But I'm a little concerned about the language of this. It, to me, is not clear. That demolition resolved, the demolition, removal, or repair of the home at 59 Hampshire shall commence within 10 days of the date of this resolution and be completed within 30 days hereof, and all costs incurred by the town for work performed or services rendered in the demolition or removal or repair shall be recovered by the town by assessment and levy on real property, et cetera, et cetera. Is this clear that we have the authority then to proceed?
Councilmember, can you please speak into the mic?
Is this clear that we have the authority to proceed with that demolition within 10 days?
Yes, that's in the town code, and the language in the resolution tracks verbatim the language from the town code,
Okay.
which has been reviewed by and approved by the New York State Court of Appeals.
Thank you, Counsel. With that imprimatur, I'm... Thanks, Bill. With respect to the demolition of the property at, or repair of the property at 59 Hampshire Drive in the town of Brighton, I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
is there any further discussion from the board on that motion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Thank you, and thank you to everyone that came in to share your thoughts with us tonight. You're welcome to stay, but please don't feel that you have to. Okay, now we will go back and conduct the hearing on the proposed 2023 preliminary budget.
Supervisor, would you like me to give the presentation before you open the public hearing?
Sure.
And then you can open the hearings and continue?
But then I would ask that you
sorry.
submit the PowerPoint to the board as part of the record of the public hearing. That would be fine.
Just for clarification for our stenographer, so the presentation that Ms. Parker is about to give does not need to be stenographically recorded as part of the public hearing record.
That's correct. Okay. And here, it's going to be displayed up on the wall, so we are going to go back into the seats.
Good evening. My name's Paula Parker. I'm the Director of Finance for the town of Brighton, and it's my favorite time of the year. It's time for me to present the 2023 preliminary budget. We did file the budget with the town clerk at our last board meeting in September. So before I get started, I wanted to do just a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, we'll be utilizing the same charts that we do annually. And these charts and graphs that we use in the presentation have been prepared by, due to the hard work of the staff of the Finance Department, Suzanne Zazo, the Assistant Director of Finance, Amy Banker, our accountant, Gidget Williams, the Senior Payroll Clerk, who's been with us for about a year, and Jennifer Staudenmeyer, our new account clerk, who's been with us since July. I also want to thank Supervisor Maley, board council members, and the Budget Review Task Force for their guidance and support throughout the process. To my department heads who work with me closely on the budget, I thank you for your hard work as well. Each year you scrutinize your budget, you reduce your budgets, and it's a pleasure to work with you so that we can arrive at budgets that make sense for the town. We can reduce the lines where it's appropriate and increase where necessary. I thank you for all of your hard work. So this year we're going to continue our nature focus. Last year I believe we did Corbett's Glen for our picture. This year this is the Brickyard Trail Bridge. I want to just review with everyone a few of our departments and the services that they provide to the town. Our police department has 40 full-time and 5 part-time professional and dedicated sworn police officers. They run a 24, 7-day-a-week, 365-day-a-year operation. They provide emergency response, road patrol, criminal investigations, crime prevention, youth programs, animal control, school crossing guards, and court security, to name a few. In 2021, we had 47,748 calls for service, which was up 2% from 2020, where we had calls of about 46,600. There was also 292 criminal arrests made in 2021, which was essentially flat as the 2020 arrests of 299. As part of the Community Engagement Initiative, there continues to be community presentations made annually. Our courts completed and closed 5,041 cases in 2021. Roadway and infrastructure maintenance. Our highway department maintains just under 200 lane miles of roads, 83 miles of storm sewers, 41 miles of concrete gutters, 38 miles of curbing, and approximately 1,700 road signs. Repaving and surface treatment of approximately 17.1 miles of roadways and installation and replacement of 667 square yards of gutters were completed in 2021, as well as 1,450 linear feet of storm sewers. Snow and ice control is provided on 318 lane miles of roads during our inclement weather. Curbside brush and leaf pickup townwide is occurring from April to October, including processing at the landfill. We had almost 27,000 cubic yards of brush and 15,000 cubic yards of leaves that were collected and processed in 2021. We also had 47 tree removals, 34 plantings, and 184 trees trimmed and did in 2021, and we will be completing the emerald ash borer treatment in 2023, and it is part of our budget. The Brighton Memorial Library provides a wide array of recreational, educational books, e-books, audiobooks, audio magazines, newspapers, streaming videos, DVDs, music CDs, multimedia, discounted museum and park passes, puzzles, internet access, Wi-Fi, and research databases. The community resources include a curbside pickup program, which was started during the pandemic and continues today. They provide themed book bundles, all kinds of programs, technology classes, the Partners in Reading program for seniors, tutoring and study rooms, the Quiet Room, Friends of the Library bookstore, Brighton Kiwanis Discovery Room for children, and the Learning Center meeting room for nonprofit organizations, and much more. There was just under 114,000 patron visits in 2021. There was 1,268 library programs with just under 33,000 attending in 2021. The Brighton Memorial Library leads other Monroe County public libraries serving similar-sized communities in usage statistics. We have 7 parks and various recreational areas encompassing over 564 acres. This includes the 2018 purchase of the 26 acres of parkland on Westfall Road. The recreation facilities include 8 playgrounds, 2 lodges, pavilions, an outdoor pool, 8 soccer fields, 7 baseball and softball fields, 4 tennis courts, 2 basketball courts, and 2 pickleball courts and picnic facilities. We've got over 17 miles of walking trail, which our park staff maintain. That does include the addition of the new Highland Crossing Trail. There are activities and classes year-round for all age groups provided by the Recreation Department, 185 programs with just under 600 sessions offered in 2021, as compared to 254 and 649 respectively in 2020. We're getting geared up again since the pandemic. We're doing less online classes and more in-person programs. We also have the community garden, the farmers market, and the Veterans Memorial. General government services, some of the other things that the town does, includes the fire marshal, which ensues the compliance with fire and building codes, public works reviews, the construction projects for conformity with the town's comprehensive plan, zoning and community development goals. Public works plans new town infrastructure and development projects. Some of the projects would include the Highland Crossing Trail, the Monroe Avenue Green Initiative Program, and streetscape improvements, or GIGP as we fondly call it, pedestrian and bicycle plan implementation, and the farmers market. We also have the cable broadcasting of the town public meetings, and our town clerk provides marriage licenses, passports, and conducts elections. Our town historian collects, organizes, and preserves historical town records, and the assessor maintains the property valuation records for all town parcels. So, in looking at the 2023 net operating budget, we are going to focus on 3 main operating funds. That's going to be our general fund, our highway fund, and our library fund. We generally consider these our main operating funds. And I don't want to bore everybody with the numbers, but The total authorized appropriations for those three funds, less the interfund sales of fuel for other departments, is $29,770,000. We've got estimated revenues of $10,791,000. We're going to be utilizing fund balance of $2.35 million, and the amount in taxes that we'll be raising is $16,629,000. If we look at the line below, we're going to talk about comparing those to what we did in 2022. So in 2022, we had $27,221,920. I'm going to focus on the change in the operating levy. So in 2023, we are seeing expenses or authorized appropriations increase by $2.5 million. We've also seen our estimated revenues go up by just under $1.4 million, which is good news. We're also going to be increasing our fund balance usage of about $500,000. So the amount to be raised in taxes for our three main operating funds is $650,000, about 4%. When we look at the assessed value, and we'll talk a little bit more about this when we get to the tax cap analysis, but our taxable assessed value had very, very minimal growth this year, only 0.25%, which equates to about $7.5 million. After we take all of this into consideration, we're going to be having a tax rate increase of 3.81%, which is slightly less than our 4.07% because of that small growth in our taxable assessed value. Our tax rate will move from about $5.25 to $5.45, about 20 cents per thousand. So a house that's assessed at $100,000 would be paying $20 more next year. This is a slide that just shows the total of the operating funds and then the special districts. So some of our special districts are, and you may all be in some of these districts or all of them. We've got our ambulance service district, our business improvement district, drainage districts, our West Brighton Fire Protection Capital District, sidewalk districts, street lighting districts, sidewalk snow removal districts, neighborhood improvement districts, a park maintenance district, a refuse collection district, sanitary sewers, and a consolidated water district. All of these districts together, are going to be raising about $4.6 million in authorized appropriations. They have a very minor amount of revenues, $85,000, and some appropriated fund balance that we'll be putting towards the budget. Overall, though, we'll be raising $4.4 million in taxes for those special districts. They are service-driven districts and are almost entirely supported by property taxes. Total, for everything townwide, we're going to be raising $34 million, roughly, in authorized appropriations, about $10.8 million in estimated revenues. We are going to be using just under $2.5 million in appropriated fund balances and reserves. Overall, the town is going to be increasing taxes to $21,031,560 as compared to the $20,074,000 the previous year. The levy will be going up by $957,190 total. That is 4.77% based on the dollars we are raising. So how does that fit into the tax cap? So last year, when we look at our tax cap, we raised the $20,074,000 I just spoke about. And here's our growth factor, very, very minimal here. We will look at the pilots we collected in 22, add those together, add 2% on it. Again, the tax cap is 2%, or the rate of inflation, whichever is less. And we all know that the rate of inflation is not 2%. We also had some carryover in the previous year of $90,000, and we're going to reduce the pilot amount off of that as well. So our total allowable tax levy limit for 2023 is $20,604,000. This would give us $529,883 to raise in taxes and stay within that tax cap, which you'll notice is just a little bit over the 2% when you add in all of the other growths and all of the pilots. That would give us the $16,629,000 for those funds that we talked about, the general, the highway, the library, and the debt service fund. And in the debt service fund, there is no tax levy. Our special districts are going to come in again at that $4.4 million. In order to meet the needs and provide services at the levels that we are doing now for the community, we are going to have to raise the $21 million in real property taxes. And again, there's that 4.77% we talked about, but that does equate to $427,000 over our property tax cap. And considering the struggles that we've had in putting this budget together for 2023 and the increase in prices that the town's dealing with, I believe we've done a very good job at keeping that rate low. So real property taxes become 58.2% of our budget. That's inclusive of our property taxes, pilots, and late fees on property tax payments. That's the $17,300,000. The next biggest revenue that the town has is our distributed sales tax at 18%. We've increased that number from $4.4 million in 2022 to the $5.35 million in 2023. Our departmental income is 6.6% of the budget, or just under $2 million. Our appropriated fund balance is going up to $2.3 million. Our mortgage tax is decreasing down to $900,000, and we'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. We have intergovernmental charges at just under $600,000, and our all other revenues at $500,000. State aid, again, just under $600,000. Appropriated reserve fund balance at $31,000. And then the two smallest items are federal aid is $1,500, but our interest income is $192,000, which is definitely about $178,000 over where we were in 2022 based on what interest rates are doing currently. All in all, we've got the $29,770,260 in our net revenues. So when we look at our sales tax projections, historically, we've seen about an 8% increase year after year. However, during COVID, we did see a drop. That's the 2020 amount during COVID. We lost about $300,000. And we were very careful about what we budgeted for sales tax in 21 and currently in 22 because there was much uncertainty as to how that was going to recover. This part of New York State recovered quite well, and we've seen our sales tax grow. In 21, we did collect $5.3 million, and we are on task to collect over our budget this year at the $4.4 million. We should overshoot that target. We felt very comfortable in propping that number up by almost $1 million to the $5.35 million for 2023. We are cautious, though. Obviously, if there is a recession or a pullback, we wanted to have a number that we felt safe that we would meet our budget goals and projections. The mortgage tax historically is a more difficult tax to project. As you can see, the red lines represent what we've budgeted, and the green lines represent what we've actually realized in those revenues. Ideally, through the years, what we'd like to see is we'd like to see the green line always above the red. Some years that happens, and some years it does not. The last 3 years, 19, 20, and 21, we've been very fortunate. As mortgage rates declined, People were purchasing homes, paying a lesser mortgage rate, but also we had a high refinance rate as well. So we've seen those mortgage tax amounts in the last 3 years grow. And if you look at the 22 amount here, and I know it doesn't look like it's half, and that's because my chart starts at 350,000, but we've collected about 50% of what we budgeted in the current year. We don't get the final payment till December, so it's hard to say right now whether the increase in mortgage rates, the lack of refis, how this is going to impact us. So for 2023, we have decreased that number from 1,125,000 down to 900,000, which is more in line with 2020 and 2021. When we look at appropriations by expenditure type, this is going to be our wages and our fringe benefits. Obviously, we are a service-driven organization, so wages and fringes are just under 75% of our budget. Supplies and materials make up about 10%. Contractual services, which are contracts with other providers for services that we don't have, that we do not provide through the town, that's about 7%. Our debt service is at 4.5%. Equipment and capital outlay about 3%. Utilities and telephone is at under 2%, insurance 1.3%, and then our interfund transfers is way under 1%. Again, looking at the total net appropriations, there's that $29,772,060, exactly the same as the revenues, giving us a balanced budget. I just wanted to highlight one item in the budget that we're seeing a tremendous amount of increase in, among other things. But this chart illustrates quite well what we're coping with as far as inflation goes and the price of fuel and price of oil products across the board. So the gray bars represent what we've actually paid for diesel and gasoline the past few years. The green line under 2022 represents what we've budgeted for this year, and the gray line represents what we've spent for the past 9 months through September. I don't know if we'll make it. I suspect we won't. I suspect we'll probably be over budget in our fuel in the current year. So with this in mind, and with the increases that we are probably would be forthcoming for 2023, we've increased our fuel budget by 47%, and that's the net increase that does not take into account our interfund fuel sales with our other departments. So this is just an illustration of one area in our budget where we're struggling. New York State retirement expense this year did increase. Their increases were slight, 1.4%. However, that 1.4% transferred to 14% for the town of Brighton. The New York State retirement system is mandatory for the town to be a member of, and they dictate the rates. The town pays their annual bill, and that's how we fund our retirement for our employees. So the current year, we've got about $2.15 million. That number will go up to $2.5 million, or just under $2.5 million for 2023. And these are easy numbers to project because they are based on our salaries. Again, that's a 14% increase in what we're going to see next year. And looking at how we spend our dollars, we've got police department at $9.6 million, 32%. We've got our highway next with 27%, or at just under $8 million. Public Works comes in at just under 10%, or $2.8 million. We've got the Brighton Memorial Library at $2.4 million, or 8%. Our general government support, which was all of the items we talked about in the slide earlier, that's under just under 8%, or $2.3 billion. Parks is at 5.5% roughly at $1.7 million. Recreation, again, 4.6 at just under $1.4 million. Town justices come in at just over $500,000, or just under 2%. Our town clerk department is at 1.6%, or just under a $500,000, and our supervisor and town council departments are at 2%, or $610,000. Again, net appropriations, if we look at that bottom number, there we are, 29,770, 260. We do have several approved projects that we approved in our capital improvement plan at our last board meeting in September. The sewer district is going to be relining $307,000 worth of sewer lines next year. We're going to be purchasing a pickup truck and trailer for $78,200. However, the pickup truck we are going to be purchasing this year due to delivery and supply chain concerns, along with availability. So we're going to be getting those purchases started this year. We're also going to be contributing $10,000 to our reserve. The sidewalk district, which is one of the special districts that had an increase due to the cost of materials, we're going to replace, again, about the same square footage, but it's going to cost a little bit more, $251,000. We'll be utilizing $5,000 from the fund balance for that. And our ambulance contribution will be $85,000. This is money we put away annually to assist the district in the purchase of an ambulance. We've also increased that by about $10,000 due to the price of ambulances. Information systems in the finance department, we're going to be replacing servers, computers, network and disaster recovery equipment to the tune of $90,300. We have 4 police vehicles slated for purchase in 2023, $22,500, and our body camera, data storage, and taser programs will be also instituted at $60,000. Parks and Recreation, the largest capital plan that we've got there is the ongoing farmers market. It's about $1.6 million, funded by grants as well. The playground equipment and tractor for the Parks Department, again, that tractor, we're going to start the process of purchasing that in '22, and then the remainder is for playground equipment in the amount of $80,000, and $40,000 of that is going to come from the manufacturer. It's a rebate that we do get from the manufacturer of the playground equipment. The facilities, we're looking at the HVAC upgrades at Town Hall, about just under $500,000. We'll be utilizing ARPA funds for that purpose. And we're also going to purchase a facilities truck, but we'll again start that purchase in '22, this current year, and that's going to be around $60,000. So all totaled for these projects, we're looking at spending about $2.7 million, just under, for those projects. Highway and Public Works, we're going to be spending just under $2.1 million. We're going to be buying a 10-wheel vehicle. That's about $420,000. We'll probably end up borrowing. We will end up borrowing for that vehicle. We are buying a small SUV and a van in the current year. Again, we're worried about delivery dates and availability issues, so we'll be purchasing those in this current fiscal year, or reserving the funds for purchase. We're going to be doing repaving, resurfacing, storm sewers, gutters, town sidewalks, just under $1 million. The good news on those is that the state did increase some of our CHIPS funding and added a program to repair roads. So we'll be getting about $542,000 in grants, and we are not planning on borrowing for any of those projects next year. For planning and other, we've got other items, sidewalks, GIGP, which is the Monroe Avenue maintenance, and facility maintenance, $360,000 we're planning. We've got $185,000 in grants, and we'll be using $11,000 in reserves, and the difference will be, of course, funded by our property taxes. And our forest management, our tree trimming, our removal, and the ash borer treatment for 2023, we're looking at $220,000. So that's a look at where we are for our 2023 budget. Again, it was a difficult budget in the fact that usually I can stand up here and tell you that we're facing insurance increases. I can tell you that retirement is an increase and maybe wages are impacting the budget. But this year I can tell you that every category and every classification across our budget is increasing. Our utilities, our fuel, our supplies, and our contracts. So we've faced with inflation, availability, supply chain issues. Like many residents, we're also facing the difficult problem of having those costs increase on us and having to budget accordingly for those increases. So it's been a difficult year. It's been a difficult budget to plan for, but I think we've done overall a fabulous job. Supervisor has been instrumental in assisting with the process, and the board, of course, making sure that we've made the responsible reductions where we could.
Thank you very much, Paula. Thank you for that very thorough overview. I also want to acknowledge your Deputy Director of Finance, Suzanne Zaso, who is also an integral part of the team. This is a challenging year, in no small part because of the uncertainties that we face in so many different areas right now. So I do acknowledge the hard work that you've put in. Now I declare the hearing on the proposed 2023 preliminary budget to be open. Is there anyone here in the audience in person that would like to address the board on the budget at this time? I do see one hand raised on the Zoom. Bridget, if you would unmute Mr. Tetanoff. Mr. Tetanoff, once you're unmuted, go ahead, please.
Disappointed that you guys are exceeding the rate of inflation again. I would ask that you guys stay within your means and stop running up the public's credit card. It's irresponsible to everybody is having difficulty. Don't make it. Don't keep raising taxes. Stay within the state limit.
Thank you, Mr. Tetanoff. I do not see anyone else on Zoom with their hand raised. I do not see anyone here in the room wishing to speak. As we have done every year for 30 years plus now, state law requires us to hold one budget hearing. We will hold two budget hearings as part of a lengthy and very transparent process that included the development of a capital improvement plan that was approved at our last meeting, that includes review through open finance and administrative services meetings, budget workshops, again open to the public, where each of the department heads presented their budget. And continuing that open and transparent process, we will hold a second hearing on the town budget 2 weeks from tonight, October 26th at 7 p.m. And so I declare this first hearing to be closed. We will then move to the hearing on the proposed 2023 assessment rolls for service charges, maintenance charges, capital improvements, and sewer rent charges for special improvement districts. And I'll ask the town clerk if the necessary notice has been given in this matter.
Yes, Supervisor. In addition to the mailing that went out to all property owners, This was in the, sorry, my thing closed on me, the September 30th, and it will also be in the October 14th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you. I declare this public hearing to be open on those assessment rolls. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to address the board on that public hearing? Seeing no one, I also see no one on our Zoom with their hand raised to speak. Once again, as was the case with our preliminary budget hearing, we will hold a second public hearing on the assessment rolls. We will hold that public hearing again in 2 weeks, October 26th at 7 p.m. at our regular town board meeting. And seeing no one here to comment, I declare this public hearing to be closed. Finally, the last public hearing we have tonight is a public hearing on the proposed local law to allow the town board to adopt a budget commencing January 1st, 2023 that may exceed a tax cap. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given in this public hearing?
Yes, Supervisor. This notice was published in the September 30th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you. Notice having been given, I declare this public hearing to be open. I will just say that as part of the budget presentation by the finance director, you saw the analysis on the tax cap, and it is for that reason that although the proposed increase in the tax levy is significantly less than the current rate of inflation, it will exceed, if the budget remains as it is now, it will exceed the permitted tax cap for the town for next year. State law then requires that we, to do so, that we adopt a local law permitting such a budget to be adopted. So again, this public hearing on the local law to permit the town to adopt a budget that exceeds the tax cap is open. I don't see anyone here in the room to speak. I don't see anyone on Zoom to speak. I'll ask Paula, is there anything you wanted to add in addition to what you had already indicated during your budget presentation?
When the department heads and I scrutinized their budget lines, and we did go through line by line as we do every single year with each of the requests, we did reduce lines where it was appropriate. And unfortunately, in order to have a budget that makes sense, we really need to go over that tax cap by $427,000 is the approximate number we're looking at. So to cut those budgets could result in perhaps services not being what I know you want them to be for your community. So we had a sharp eye, a sharp pencil, and I believe we did a good job at putting this budget together. Unfortunately, we did have to have an amount over what the tax cap allowance was.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board on this public hearing? Hearing none, I declare this public hearing to be closed, and I will ask Councilman DePonzio if you would.
Yes, with respect to the proposed local law to allow the town board to adopt a budget commencing January 1, 2023 that may exceed the tax cap, I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
We have a motion seconded. Is there any further discussion? Is there any discussion on that motion? Again, you've heard the thought process and the presentation by the finance director.
Bill, I first wanted to say that Paul has done an excellent job here. It's a very difficult budget to contend with, given the extraordinary increases in expenses. The fact that we're keeping it under a 4% increase at 3.81.
Yeah, the rate.
Did I say under a 4% increase?
The rate, the tax rate, that's
tax rate.
correct, 3.81.
That is, in the current environment, is extraordinary. I think that's a terrific job. We hate to see the jump above that tax cap, but nonetheless, there's no way around it.
Any further discussion from the board? Hearing none, then I'll ask the town clerk to
Councilmember
roll.
DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Okay. Moving on to communications. We do have 3 items of communications tonight, and they're important. So I want to address each one of them individually. The first item you have here is from Brian Stratton, the director of the New York State Canal Corporation. It's a copy of a letter that was sent on September 22nd. It was copied, it was sent to the county executive, Adam Bello, but it was copied to a variety of people, as you see listed there, including the town supervisors of Brighton, Parrington, and Pittsford. When you read the letter, what you discover is that the town supervisors of Brighton, Parrington, and Pittsford were excluded from a meeting that the Canal Corporation held. And it is clear to me, after reading this communication, and by the way, I've spoken both with Supervisor Hanna from Parrington and Supervisor Smith from Pittsford. Both of them were troubled by this communication as I was. Both of them, you'll recall that when this clear-cutting plan along the canal was first proposed, the towns of Brighton, Parrington, and Pittsford successfully sued the Canal Corporation because the Canal Corporation had failed to comply with SEQR, the State Environmental Quality Review Act, in their plan. And now from this letter, it appears that sooner or later this plan is rearing its ugly, and I'll say that, its ugly head again. And once again, the Canal Corporation has chosen not to properly and openly engage with any of our towns, and I'm sure none of the other towns along the course of the canal. You'll recall they started clear-cutting west of here, and when it became apparent to us what was going on, we got an injunction. Unfortunately, the horses were out of the barn west of here, but our 3 towns stopped that project from moving along any farther. And it seems that they've continued to fail to properly engage with us. They're moving ahead with what I believe is the wrong way to address safety issues. Obviously, everybody legitimately wants to make sure that canal embankments are safe. We do too. But this notion of a near clear-cut approach done without working in collaboration with community members, canal users, or local leaders is simply the wrong approach. So I anticipate that I will be meeting, based on the conversations we had today, the supervisors of Parrington and Pittsford and myself will be meeting with the County Executive Bello or one of either from his law office or deputy to address how we approach what we still have not gotten any level of comfort is the kind of project that will really enhance the canal or do anything to enhance safety along the canal. So that's a long-winded explanation. This is a project that has been troubling to us from the start, and as you can tell, continues to be troubling. The next item of communication is from Heritage Christian Services. And in that communication, they advise the town that they desire to establish a new group home at 1240 Crittenden Road. That's a 1.3 acre lot, currently with about a 3,400 square foot single-story ranch-style home that they propose to house 6 adult individuals with developmental disabilities. Under Section 41.34 of the Mental Hygiene Law of the State of New York, the town has 40 days after receiving this request to make one of 3 determinations. 1, we can approve that location for a group home. 2, we can suggest 1 or more alternative sites, or 3, we can object to that location based on a concern of concentration of community residential facilities, either in that immediate area or in the town as a whole. So that we can, and so that you can, so that the community can learn more about this project, Heritage Christian Services will be attending the West Brighton Community Forum that will be held on October 19th in the Rustic Village Community Room at 7 p.m. And the town board will be in a position then to take action within the mandatory time limit at our October 26th meeting. Finally, the last item of communication is an item that actually the chief received today, and law enforcement agencies throughout the state received from our state attorney general, Letitia James, clarifying and reinforcing the position of her office and the position of the state of New York, that New York does not recognize and will not assist other states to the extent that they try to claim that their laws restricting a woman's right to make her own reproductive choices, trying to enforce their laws in the state of New York. The Attorney General has made it clear that law enforcement agencies should not assist if they're contacted by those other states. I agree with the Attorney General. I'm glad she sent this communication to make the position of the state of New York absolutely clear when it comes to the continued right of women in this state to make reproductive health decisions, including decisions about abortion and birth control. That is their decision to make, in consultation with their physicians or other medical professionals, but it's their decision to make without interference from out-of-state politicians. So those are the 3 letters we have. Can I have a motion to receive and file those, please?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailing?
Aye. Committee reports, starting with Community Services. Robin?
Thanks, Bill. The Community Services Committee has not met in the intervening time since our last town board meeting, but I do have a couple of updates from our Parks and Recreation Department heads. From our Recreation Department, fall registration is now open for all programming. There are lots of new classes available, as well as many old favorites like Basketball League, which is returning to full strength this year. Register early to secure your spot. Programs are being added regularly. Please check back for even more fantastic opportunities. Our website is www.townofbrighton.org/rec, R-E-C. We're always looking for new program content, so please contact the Recreation Office to learn more about how you can become an instructor. And the number to call for that information is 585-784-5260, extension 0. You're all cordially invited to our Halloween Trunk or Treat event that will occur at the Brighton Town Hall Public Safety Wing, 2300 Elmwood Avenue, on Saturday, October 22nd. The time is from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. or while supplies last. We're making a return to an in-person walkthrough event this year, so dust off those costumes and get ready to party. Join us in a child-friendly costume for trick-or-treating from our tricked-out trunks. Treats to be provided by our recreation department. There will be a costume parade, games, and much more fun. Details are still being finalized, so stay tuned to your email and Facebook for full details. You're also invited to our Brickyard bird watching tutorial. That will occur on Tuesday, October 18th at 11:30 a.m. at the Brookside Recreation Center Multipurpose Room. This is a free event, so you can bring your lunch or snack and listen in to the information. Also a reminder that our summer farmers market is still ongoing, even though it is fall. That is on Sundays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Brighton High School parking lot. This weekend, Councilmember on Your Corner will feature information on our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Action Plan. Program starting soon in our recreation department are line dancing, Wear on Earth, baking basics, volleyball, tennis, home alone safety, horseback riding, and so much more. Then an update from our Parks Department. Park staff are still extremely busy with park and facility maintenance tasks, especially on trails. Staff is continuing to work on multiple outdoor facility projects while the weather is still cooperating with us, and seasonal bathrooms are scheduled to be closed on November 1st. Upcoming events, we have our semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event this weekend on Saturday, October 15th from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. That will take place at the Brighton Highway Department parking lot at 1941 Elmwood Avenue. And then our Drug Enforcement Agency National Pharmaceutical Take-Back event will be on Saturday, October 29th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Again, that will occur at the Brighton Town Hall Public Safety Wing, 2300 Elmwood Avenue. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be next Wednesday, October 19th at 9:30 a.m. at the Brookside Recreation Center. Please access the Recreation Department through the Winton Road entrance. As always, members of the public are invited and encouraged to attend.
Thanks, Robin.
Welcome.
Finance and Administrative Services, Jason.
Yes, the Finance and Administrative Services Committee met last Tuesday, October 4th. Each of the items that were discussed in committee appear on tonight's agenda and will be discussed and voted on further down in our meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled to take place on Tuesday, October 18th. We will meet at 3:30 in the afternoon here in the main auditorium at Town Hall, and the public is invited to attend.
Thank you very much. Public Safety, Chris?
Thanks, Bill. We met with the Public Safety Committee just yesterday, and a number of items were reviewed. First with Brighton Ambulance reporting 763 requests for services in September, with 269 Brighton residents receiving services. There were 64 calls for mutual aid that we responded to as well. Our ambulance requests for services are up for the year some 15.7% over 2021. Staffing continues to be a challenge, but we're still fully staffed. Our mental health first aid instructor training will begin in October with plans by the BVA to offer mental health first aid training to all local agencies. We're really at the forefront of that sort of service and training. The Brighton Fire Department indicated they've had 1,922 calls to date. They finalized specifications to replace their 2008 Quint, and the public referendum will open until November 6th, or be open until November 6th. The career recruit graduates on November 11th to add to our cadre there. And a volunteer recruitment drill at Station 1 will be held at on October 17th at 1900 hours. Department of Public Works reported on their paving program, which finished up on Wyatt Road, and a small paving job by the end of October to be completed on Oakdale. Leaf collection, the big project for the fall, starts October 17th. Brighton Police reported 43,321 requests for services in the year so far. If I got that right, Chief?
You do, sir.
44,000.
But I do think it's important. I mean, that's a huge number. An awful lot of those are not requests from, they run the whole gamut of department initiated, you know, when they stop by, for example, a place of worship to make sure that things are secure. That's one of the incidents that gets counted there.
40 sworn officers, is that correct?
It's awful busy.
Yes.
It's awfully busy. September 17th, the police provided services at the homecoming parade and festivities and used town dump trucks to control traffic. Operation Clear Track was held during the year's Rail Safety Week with 8 details out on Pennhurst, Brighton, Henrietta Town Line, and Jefferson Roads. They also participated in September 25th's Public Safety Day at the Farmers Market and passed out 50 converter etching kits. And Chief, could you tell us more about those etching kits and how they're going to be, what more might be available?
Sure, thanks. So I partnered with ISRI, it's the Institute for Scrap Recycling Industry, and Metallico. They provided etching kits that really came in a small packet due to the prevalence of catalytic converters being stolen. So really what it is, it's almost, you put a sticker on your catalytic converter, and there's a little cylinder inside the kit with like almost a Q-tip, and you just wipe it over the sticker and it etches it into the catalytic converter. And my goal for this was to engage if there's a public interest in etching their catalytic converters. And as I saw from the interest at the farmers market, they were gone in under an hour. So I think there are talks at the county level to maybe provide these on a wider basis for crime prevention efforts.
That's great. Thanks, Chief. October 8th, the rabies clinic was conducted for over a 2-hour period. There were 34 pets. Are they vaccinated, inoculated? What's the phrase? Vaccinated. Treated.
Rabies vaccine.
All right. The drug take-back event will be held on October the 29th from 10 o'clock a.m. to 2 p.m. Is that correct? 4 hours then?
Yes.
Henrietta Fire District, which services West Brighton Forest, had 594 calls a year to date in West Brighton and 75 calls in September. There had been a house fire on Bastion Road, which was dealt with quickly. They have a new ladder truck in service, and they've got new apparatus still slated for January and February. They had a new firefighter in the Recruit Academy, and they will hold their grand opening of station number 6 on October the 15th, this coming Saturday. We also had a report from Commissioner Guyon on the status of the Winton Road gas main replacement project, which is moving forward and is hoped to be completed with paving in late October or early November. There was also some discussion about continuing to pursue speed zone on Monroe Avenue, left turns on Winton Road, or from Winton onto Westfall, and lane restrictions and pedestrian signals elsewhere, and Commissioner Guyon is writing letters to the appropriate authorities to pursue those. We also had a discussion of the address we should use on the rec department, which has access primarily from Winton Road, but the mailing address remains Idlewood. We had discussion about the proper contact through mail, but at the same time making it most accessible or giving people the best directions to access the department there from the Winton Road as well. And we've made various changes to the website and just so there's no possibility of confusion. Let's see, the Brighton Police Department continued to goes on, excuse me. There was an installation, there was a request by a homeowner for installation of temporary speed bumps along Hemingway, and the Brighton Police will collect traffic data along Hemingway and Cobb Terrace for review and to see whether those speed humps might be appropriate. Current speed there is 25 miles an hour, and they continue to monitor the street as time and resources allow. We discussed the proposed Heritage Christian Home application at 1240 Crittenden, and concluded with the Country Club of Rochester's application for their New Year's Eve fireworks, which will be December 31st at 2100 hours. Next meeting will be November 1. We've moved it up a week so we don't conflict with Election Day in the auditorium here. It'll precede the Public Works Committee meeting, and but our time will remain the same at 0800.
Councilmember, if I could, just one thing on the fire department. So the referendum was actually held last night, and the budget public hearing, their budget public hearing, is next Tuesday, the 18th of October.
Thanks for that correction, Dan.
I have to post notices for them legally, so it's on my it's on my mind. I was just taking them down today.
But in Chris's defense, I heard something that sounded very much like what Chris indicated.
I didn't hear it, I read it.
But
It'll be amended. Thanks, Dan.
Okay, and finally, Public Works Committee, Christine.
Public Works met on October 4th, and I was not present, but my co-chair was. So I trust that these minutes are accurate as reported.
They are.
And thank you very much for stepping in.
Please, I'm glad you're well.
It's good to be back, and I highly recommend continuing to mask. Rates of COVID are going up again, and the variant is out and about and very transmissible. So that is why I remain masked, even though I'm in the clear. So Public Works Committee addressed the Quickly's proposed building at the corner of 12 Corners. The applicant presented a revised site plan and building rendering to the committee. The plan and rendering were revised based on comments received from the committee previously and comments from the Architectural Review Board. The revisions include a building footprint that utilizes the triangular shape of the lot better, a hip roof, an increased brick facade with hardy plank trim, a hardscaped area at the corner of Elmwood and Monroe Avenue, a community art exhibit within the hardscape area, a bike rack, an EV charging station, and a gas station canopy area that includes 3 pump islands. Overall, the committee were satisfied with the revised plan and rendering, although they suggested that the applicant consider a hip roof for the gas island canopy, and the applicant indicated they would consider this suggestion. The project will be presented at a subsequent Public Works Committee meeting for consideration as an incentive zoning application. In the matter of contractor lists, tree service providers, plumbers, etc., the Department of Public Works currently requires plumbers and tree service providers to register with the town. The committee has suggested that the list of registered plumbers and tree service providers be placed on the town website. Both lists are frequently revised, which makes it difficult to ensure that the most current information is available on the website. However, DPW will provide a link on the website to a staff member who can provide the lists as requested by the public. The DPW will also investigate whether the new software will automatically update such lists and link the updated lists to the town website. And this is important for if community members are seeking to do tree work on their properties or hire plumbers, other contractors. It's advisable to know which ones are registered with the town before proceeding with work. In new business, the committee did hear about the Heritage Christian Home proposed for 1240 Crittenden Road. They're requesting to establish a supervised, individualized residential alternative for 6 individuals with developmental disabilities. The home at 1240 Crittenden Road is currently a single-family ranch house of 3,443 square feet of living space with an attached two-car garage. The property lot is approximately 1.3 acres and served by public water, gas, and electric, and has private sanitary sewer. Heritage intends to convert the house to a 6-bedroom, fully accessible home to support individuals with developmental disabilities, and the town must respond to this request within 40 days. The project was presented also at Public Safety yesterday, and a public informational meeting will be held to gather comments regarding the proposal. Leaf pickup. Public Works will begin leaf pickup on Monday, the 17th, as stated earlier in Public Safety. You can follow the progress of the leaf pickup on the website if you're so inclined to plan ahead. Make sure your leaves do not end up in the street. Keep them on the lawn. Hopper Bike Share has given us some insight into the 2023 stations. They anticipate returning to 12 Corners and to Town Hall in 2023, and the town is happy to see those stations return. The town will work with Hopper to help secure additional locations throughout town on private properties. And Hopper is proposing 2 more locations on public property, one at the Buckland House or Community Garden parking lot, and one in the right-of-way on the west side of Edgewood Avenue, just north of Lock 33. In the matter of Schilling Lane cul-de-sac, residents are seeking no parking on the cul-de-sac. They would prefer to see no parking signs installed along the inside and outside of the cul-de-sac. The Commissioner of Public Works will prepare a letter to the town board requesting that a public hearing be scheduled to consider a local law to post such no parking signs on the cul-de-sac. And on the Currywood Circle cul-de-sac, a resident has requested no parking on that circle as well. The Public Works Committee has requested additional documentation from the neighbors supporting the proposal, and I believe we'll see that on the agenda again next month with more information. Trees were presented to the Tree Council, and the Tree Council has approved their removal. The following trees have been approved, and public hearings will be held prior to their removal. The trees are at 160 Chelmsford, 1393 Clover Street on the Roland Parkway side, 1 Westland Avenue, and 1300 French Road. All except the tree at 1300 French Road are recommended for removal and replacement. The next meeting of the Public Works Committee will be November 1st at 9 a.m. or as soon as the Public Safety Committee meeting concludes. And the public is always welcome to attend.
Try to keep you on time.
We'll all be efficient.
Thank you, everybody, for those reports. Moving on to new business, reading and approval of claims. Jason.
Yes, Bill, earlier today I reviewed claims totaling $583,858.28. Notable claims include to Hanson Aggregates in the amount of $39,107.10, representing payment for the asphalt to repave Bronx Drive and other asphalt for patching. Also to the Depository Trust Company in the amount of $96,475, representing payment for principal and interest on the 2015 B serial bond, which includes the alarm system at the Town Hall and the DPW Operations Center and the HVAC unit replacement in the library. And of the amount paid, $95,000 was applied toward principal. Also to Moody's Investors Service in the amount of $14,000, representing payment for bond rating for the recent land purchase. Also to Integra Supply Corporation in the amount of $54,950, representing payment for trailer-mounted boom lift. And finally, to Iroquois Rock Products / Dolomite Group in the amount of $75,751.04, representing payment for asphalt to repave Fernborough Road, Old Mill Road, and Heatherstone Lane. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion on any of those claims? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris, the next one, please.
Bill, next item is to award a bid to EH Automotive Number 5 LLC, DBA Tradition Ford, in an amount not to exceed $44,465 for the purchase of a 2022 Ford Explorer for the police department. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Discussion on that, or Chief, anything you want to say about?
No, just that I think all the department heads, as we've discussed, not only in department head meetings, but other meetings, we're having difficulty finding vehicles. So we had to go outside the marketplace to buy this. It's a few $100s over budget, but it was an expected replacement cost for this vehicle.
When will it be available, Chief?
I'm sorry?
When will the vehicle be available?
We should be able to pick it up hopefully this week. It is a leftover. It's a 2022.
Great.
Thank you. We got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Robin, the next one, please.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to authorize a grant application to the Justice Court Assistance Program in the amount of $8,200 for woodwork refinishing in one courtroom. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
Discussion on this. Obviously, this is, as we've said many times before, although we're not legally required to take action to authorize a grant application, we do it in the interest of transparency and so that the board can stay up on projects. And I'll turn then to the town attorney.
Actually, for this one, we do need a resolution because
you're right.
Yes,
you're
the
right. On
Justice
this one we
Court grant program insists on having a resolution with specific language.
That's correct.
Which is included in the town board resolution.
Perfect. Thank you. We have that motion and seconded. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. The next matter, Christine, please.
Certainly, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Cohen Law Group in an amount not to exceed $3,000 for professional services related to a Verizon wireless contract, and authorize the finance department to make the necessary budget modifications for said agreement. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
As you'll recall, we've worked in the past with the Cohen Group on wireless matters, so it made sense to continue that work. Ken, anything more to say?
Yes, I guess I'm not entirely pleased with the description that I let go into the agenda. If you look at the resolution, this is actually for review of a license agreement. So Verizon wants to put 5G antenna on town poles, and that's what this license agreement has to do with. It's not really a contract in the way that most people would think of contract with Verizon. And it is our understanding that Verizon will be picking up the expense of this extra legal service because it was their modifications to a long negotiated license agreement that leads to the need for these additional services.
Good. I like that better. Thank you. Motion seconded, and thanks for that further input. Any other discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into a fee-based agreement with Municipal Solutions Incorporated for professional services related to disclosure, filings, and regulations. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
We've, again, had a long-standing relationship working with Municipal Solutions. Paula, you've been happy. Bond Counsel has been happy.
Yeah, this specific contract will now go 5 years. It's for filing of any notices with EMMA, which is the electronic filing system where we upload our financial statements and any events that would impact our rates that we would borrow at.
Creditworthiness.
Our creditworthiness, yes. So they normally will do this for us, and we are adding the financial statements to this contract as well because of upcoming changes in the department. We really don't want to miss the deadlines to actually upload this information.
Very good. We got a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Robin, the next one, please.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to amend the 2022 budget to reflect the appropriation of $116,660 in ARPA funds for professional services related to the HVAC replacement / town hall renovation. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
As you all know, we have been, really since the early days of COVID and the recognition that the air filtration system in this building is a part of a 70-year-old HVAC system. There is no air filtration, and that's an important public health as well as employee health upgrade. We've made it a priority for ARPA spending, and this will be spending on a design soft costs as part of the early stages of this project. How'd I do, Mike? Good enough?
Early stages.
Early stages. Okay, we have that motion. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks to amend the 2022 budget by appropriating fund balance for the purchase of certain vehicles. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
And this is what you've heard discussed a couple times tonight, accelerating purchases based really on anticipated delays in availability and the availability of fund balance for that purpose in the 2022 budget. We have a motion and a second. Anything further? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Chris?
Next item is to amend the 2022 permanent part-time and seasonal employee wage schedule. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
I think I heard Christine.
Yes.
Just barely beating you out.
Just under the wire.
The proposed changes are attached to this correspondence. They were discussed with finance and with the department head. Further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Manley.
Aye. Chris, why don't I have you do the next one as well?
Sure. Next item is to authorize the reorganization of the Facilities Department and to move the maintenance mechanic position from Group 6 to Group A, Step 2, and to authorize the Finance Department to make the necessary budget modifications for the salary increase. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
And to be clear, that's Group A in the department head salary schedule. This will make that position a department head position. Did I get that wrong?
No.
Oh, good. Phew. Reflecting the breadth and the depth of the work that Gary does handling a variety of facilities management issues across not only this building, but with this position going forward, some of our other buildings, including buildings that are currently under construction, like the Farmers Market building. So we
Just
have
one correction, Supervisor. That's effective January 1st.
January 1st. Yes, that's what I believe what it says in the.
It's in the resolution that way.
It's
Yeah,
in the res.
January 1st is the effective date, yeah. Okay, then we have a motion and a second. Is there any change that's needed on that? Okay.
Apologies, who was the second?
Chris made the motion, and I think Christine
Yeah, Christine
seconded.
seconded.
Was it?
I did not, but I will.
I
will.
think I did.
Robin did. I'm behind.
That's right.
We'll have someone.
Yeah.
So the motion having been made and seconded and discussed, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Chris, on the appointment of Jaquan Weish.
Thank you for cueing me on pronunciation. Bill, the next item is to appoint Jaquan Weish to the position of laborer. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
We continue to fill vacancies, and I know, Mike, you're happy to have him.
Yeah, we have currently have 3 vacancies. This will fill one of them. We'll have 2 more vacancies to fill, and we're moving ahead with that. Jaquan, he's very experienced out of the construction industry, so we're looking forward to bringing him on. Good fit.
Beautiful. We have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. And Robin, the last one, please.
Certainly. The next matter seeks to set a public hearing, for the proposed prohibition of parking on Shilling Lane, both sides of the road along this traffic circle at the intersection with Havens Road and along the cul-de-sac at the south end of Shilling Lane. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
Oh, boy, you guys are, I'm going to give this one to Jason.
We're all punched. We're getting punchy.
And this was discussed in committee, I think more than once, actually. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion here on setting that public hearing? And that public hearing date would be November 9th at 7 p.m. Any discussion on setting the public hearing? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor. I know you've all been waiting for me to start talking about leaf pickup. And we're here at last. Next Monday, we start leaf pickup. Now, during leaf pickup, of course, we continue to pick up other yard debris and branches and the like, although we do ask that they be kept separate from the leaves. But it's also important, and you'll hear me say this more than once over the next few months, there are some guidelines that we have that, A, help our highway department pick up leaves as quickly and efficiently as possible, but also preserve safety, not only for our workers, but for cyclists, pedestrians, drivers. First and foremost, please do not pile leaf piles in the street or in the gutter. If you pile your leaves or debris in the gutter or in the street, it's potentially dangerous to pedestrians, to cyclists, and to vehicle drivers. Visibility issues, cars swerving, bicycles swerving, but they can also cause storm drainage issues. We've got some pretty good rain, it sounds like, coming tomorrow. We get that in the fall more and more. If storm drains are clogged with leaves that have been piled in the street, it can cause neighborhood flooding issues. Now, if you do have large quantities of leaves, you can pile them, and our bulk pickup crews will pick them up. But again, place them on the grass, either in the tree lawn area between your sidewalk and the street, or on your lawn immediately adjacent to the street if you don't have a sidewalk, but again, not in the street. If you have just a small quantity of leaves or debris, enough that can be containerized in a single garbage can or one or two garbage cans, they must be containerized. During the past year, our highway department has made significant improvements in their ability to speed up the bulk pickup of debris and leaves. And one reason is requiring small quantities to be containerized, so those whole crews don't have to come and stop at a house for just a small quantity. And as an example of that, I drove down a street. I'm not going to name the street, but a resident on that street was concerned that our crews were driving past leaf pile or debris piles and not picking them up. What I saw on that street, in fact, on one block of that street, were 6 houses that had extremely small piles of debris, each one of which should have been containerized. It does slow our crews down dramatically to have to pick up those small bundles when they should be out with their full forces picking up the large bulk areas. We have a packer truck. It's that truck that looks like a garbage truck. The packer truck and the crew is designed to pick up those small containerized quantities. Remember though, when you containerize, you can do it in the big brown paper bags, you can do it in a refuse can. Please do not use plastic bags, because we mulch all that down at our Browncroft facility. If you want to know where our crews are and how soon they're going to be coming to your neighborhood, we have separate maps, one for bulk, one for containerized pickup on that town webpage. That'll help give you a heads up as to when you can anticipate having them come through your neighborhood. That webpage, by the way, also has a lot of other great information about leaf pickup, debris pickup that may be helpful to you. One final reminder, grass clippings will not be picked up under any circumstances. Mow your lawn, but leave the grass on your lawn. And by the way, this time of year, mow the lawn and the leaves. You're going to have some leaves on your lawn. That's a great way to mulch them in place so you won't have to rake them up. We encourage people to mulch leaves. If you want to mulch leaves yourself in a mulching area in your garden, that's great, but at the very least, think about mowing your lawn, another time or two so you can get as many of those leaves into your lawn. It'll provide natural, sustainable nutrients for your lawn going forward. Christine mentioned her mask, and I'll just add in how important getting your COVID booster, the new bivalent COVID booster. I went to an event just a couple weeks ago and was met at the door by a county public health nurse who asked me if I had gotten my bivalent vaccine yet. And in 15 minutes, I was in and out and able to enjoy the event that I was going to, having been vaccinated again with this newest booster for the Omicron virus. So think about that. I had 0 side effects, by the way, from that shot. As Christine said, we're beginning to see some signs that there may be some return. We're seeing it in Europe. That's been an indicator. We may see it again here. So I really can't encourage people enough. Get that latest booster. Keep being safe, and we'll, hopefully stay healthy. One more reminder, we've mentioned it already, the West Brighton Community Forum will be held next week, October 19th at 7 p.m. in the community room at Rustic Village. We will have the folks from Heritage Christian to tell us more and answer questions about their planned group home on Crittenden Road. Department heads will be there to answer questions that folks may have about town services, and the town board will be there to listen to concerns that West Brighton residents may have. So again, a week from tonight, October 19th, 7 p.m., West Brighton Community Forum in the Rustic Village Community Room. That's all I have. Matters of the town attorney.
I have nothing further this evening. Thank you, Supervisor.
Matters of the town clerk.
I have nothing this evening on.
Matters of the town board.
I will just add for the West Brighton Community Forum that we will also invite Barton Lujudis, our Climate Action Plan consultant, to appear at that event as well.
Great, wonderful, thank you. We have nothing further. Can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
Deanne, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio.
Aye.
Councilmember Werner.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt.
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado.
Aye.
Supervisor Malley.
Aye. Our next town board meeting will be 2 weeks from tonight, Wednesday, October 28th, right here at 7 p.m. Again, in person with our Zoom option and other remote options. Thank you to Heather and Allie. We really appreciate the long night you put in, making sure we're accessible to the community. And we'll see everybody back here again in 2 weeks. Have a great night, everybody.